Catherine Philp is the Times diplomatic correspondent in Kyiv, having just left Chernihiv, the city recovering from a Russian siege. Catherine, first of all, I mean, you were one of the first journalists to enter Bucha and see the atrocities that had been committed there. Do you think what the Prime Minister is saying is enough in terms of supporting further action? I noticed that you've written quite an impassioned plea about, the refugee program from Ukraine.
Mm. Yes, Mariella, on a personal note, I had a correspondence today with a Times reader who was trying to get a sponsored family into the UK and wasn't able to do so. And they had come from Chernihiv, where I was yesterday, got back late last night. It's pretty distressing, when you hear this political rhetoric. The Ukrainians are also very grateful for the armaments the British have sent them, but it's very hard when you get back from this situation to hear from someone like that in the UK who's tried to bring a family and has just run into roadblock after roadblock. And it just makes you wonder how much the practice lives up to the rhetoric about
Mm.
how we really want to help the Ukrainians, and whether we're willing to do it on a human level and welcome them into our country, as well as to send weapons, which I think is the easy part.
And obviously, you're doing your best to bring us the scale of the horror, really, that's being inflicted on Ukraine. How does it affect you? Because it must make you take it more personally when you visited somewhere like Chernihiv or
I
Bucha.
d- yeah, Mariella, I'd rather not talk about that right now, because I just think I understand why you're asking. It doesn't really matter how it affects me right now. I can deal with that afterwards.
I
I
mean, in
look at some.
terms of your determination to
Oh,
make
my
sure that people
determination.
can
Yeah.
escape,
Yes, I
those
understand. Sorry.
scenes.
It makes me want that to happen. Yeah. I look at my translator Lisa, whose country this is, and and how amazing she is at just doing her job. And she said on the way back from Chernihiv, um, and it was a rare kind of like moment of reflection, because we don't get many of those on the road. And she just said, "I'm not sure I can really understand how many of my people have died." Um, and she came to Bucha with us, and I think it was the first time she'd seen a dead body at all. And so the first time for you ever to see a dead body, to see your fellow countrymen executed in the streets by a neighboring country that invaded you, is that's pretty tough meat. And I think that all Ukrainians are feeling that way. That I think this is not just on a human level, it transfers to a political level, that I think it very much narrows the opportunities or the possibility of any kind of like political resolution to be struck.
Mm.
Because how do you do that now, when it's how do you strike a surrender or a peace pact with a country that has behaved like, and I don't use this lightly, like Nazi Germany
Yeah, and I
towards.
mean, President Zelensky, I think, said yesterday, or perhaps it was this morning, that it would be very hard for him to meet, that it was unlikely that he would meet President Putin directly now as a result of his trip to Bucha. And of course, Zelensky's been addressing the Irish Parliament today and has accused some Western leaders of considering financial losses to be worse than war crimes. And it follows his address yesterday to the UN Security Council, which I thought was incredibly powerful, where he really questioned the very mandate of the Security Council itself. Were you surprised to see him go that far?
No, no, I think what we've been surprised by in sort of escalating form is just the leadership role that Zelensky has taken during this conflict. Like, only a few days before the war, people were doubting he even had the stomach for, the the most confined kind of Russian aggression that could happen.
Mm.
No one expected this sort of comedic actor to turn into Churchill and to deliver these extraordinary addresses and to hold the world to account in this way. And what Zelenskyy said yesterday it's a challenge not only to the consciences of the Western countries, but to the very UN system itself, which was forged in the aftermath of the Second World War. It placed Russia in a position on the Security Council, which is, people, I see this all the time, people saying, oh, get Russia off the Security Council. It can't be done. The very structure of the UN is that the Security Council is the supreme body, and to remove a member of the Security Council, which was never built into the system, you would have to have the entire agreement of the Security Council. Now, every permanent member of that council, of which there are 5, has a veto power, and Russia is one. It can't be done. So what Zelenskyy was in fact saying yesterday was, your system is ruined, it's unfit for purpose, and what are you going to do about it? Are you really going to leave Russia in this position, whereas a totally rogue nation, it can have that power of veto? I mean, there are I've been covering for years now how the Security Council is descending into farce and paralysis because of the presence of Russia and China and the sort of bifurcation of power in geopolitics. This war has just absolutely kind of, put a flag in the
Highlighted it, yeah.
center of that. Yeah, and that's what Zelenskyy was talking about yesterday. What are you going to do about it?
And in answer, but no, there is no answer to that question at the moment. I know, but we were talking about the fact that you've just been in Chernihiv in the north of the country,
Yes.
where they've just been released from a Russian siege, and it seems that Russian forces are now shifting focus on the east of the country, the Donbass region, and continuing attacks on Mariupol. And if you look at the map, that appears in the Times every day and on the website, it looks very clear that Russia has taken the entire seaboard, and it's hard to imagine how you're going to get them to pull back from there. So is there a sense that the Russians have accomplished what they want and there is no comeback possible?
They haven't accomplished what they wanted. They haven't. They may have accomplished a lesser goal, which was to take that, but be in no error on this. They have failed in what they sought out to do. Look, they haven't taken Odessa. They have not taken the entire seaboard. Ukraine is not cut off from the sea. It is bleak, absolutely, down there. The consequences for Ukraine will be extremely bleak if they cannot recover that territory. But that is inevitably what Russia is refocusing on now that it has, frankly, taken a beating around Kyiv and in those objectives. In Chernihiv, a city that resisted in a way that the Russians did not expect because of its proximity to the Russian border, the fact it has lots of native Russian speakers, which they set a lot of store by. I think it means they have support. That was a massive blow to them. And they didn't even overrun it. They just laid siege to it. And that actually proved critical for the defense of Kyiv because it tied up so many Russian soldiers there. They thought they were tying down the Ukrainian forces there. In fact, they tied themselves down. By retreating, absolutely. I mean, Chernihiv was still nervous yesterday because they don't necessarily believe it's over. They think it could come back. But they do see, from a national perspective, that the withdrawal of Russian troops gives the Russians more power to do what they may now be doing in the south and east of the country. And if Russia were allowed to cut off Ukraine from the sea completely, or even hold the territory it kind of now, more or less has, that would be a devastating blow for the future of Ukraine.
Catherine Philp, we're so grateful to you for your expertise and your absolutely fascinating reports that you've been filing. Stay safe. That was Catherine Philp, the Times diplomatic correspondent in Kyiv at the moment.